Today, I'm excited to chat about some events that really illustrate where Europe is headed. In Berlin, the police are locked in a struggle with bar owners over organized crime. Germany is coming to terms with the fact that its bureaucratic costs are really piling up. Green politicians are pushing back against peace plans, while the defense industry seems to be circling dying car factories like vultures. And let's not forget about the White House website that's busy naming and shaming various media outlets. So I've got a juicy tidbit saved for later, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. I've spent years working in one of those so-called reputable media organizations, the ones you think you can believe without a doubt. From my seat, I saw how editors would twist stories to align with whatever would keep advertisers happy and the higher-ups comfortable. The truth got bent until it was almost unrecognizable, and that's why I decided to leave the traditional media scene and chart my own path. Now, I work independently, answering to no one but myself. I'm committed to sharing what's actually going on, not just what someone wants you to think is happening. Now, I want to be honest with you about what I do here. Every day, I dive into the grind of finding sources, cross-checking facts, and ensuring I'm not serving up any misinformation. It's exhausting work, especially when the world is overflowing with misleading headlines and clickbait. But that's why I make sure everything I share with you is verified before it hits your screen. If you appreciate the value I bring by giving you the unvarnished truth, hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and if you can, consider supporting us. It truly makes a difference because this kind of honest journalism requires resources. And please stick around until the end because what I've got will completely change how you view everything we've discussed today. Now let's shift gears to Berlin, specifically the Spandau district, where things escalated quickly. Police rolled up to a hookah bar on Wilhelmstrasse thinking it would be a standard inspection, but the 45-year-old owner was having none of it. He charged at 4 officers with enough intensity to turn the situation into a full-blown scuffle. What's crucial to know about this hookah bar is that, according to the Berlin police, it frequently attracts guests tied to organized crime networks. If you've been following Berlin's news, you know the city has been grappling with repeated violent clashes, including some that involve gunfire. That's why, back in early November, the police formed a special unit called Verum specifically to tackle these issues. Recently, there was this raid in Spandau, and let me tell you, it wasn't just a random event. It was part of a well-planned effort to reclaim neighborhoods where organized crime has really settled in. Things got a bit chaotic, though, because the bar owner wasn't alone. There were over 20 people hanging out in that hookah bar, and some of them decided to push back against the police. Despite the commotion, the police managed to check the IDs of 24 individuals during the operation, but not without a cost. 4 officers were injured while handling the situation. Honestly, I think this is just the start. We're likely going to see more of these confrontations as Berlin authorities ramp up their efforts against organized crime networks. And here's something to think about. How did we even get to this point? Criminal organizations have embedded themselves so deeply into Berlin's social scene that a simple inspection can turn into a full-blown brawl involving so many people. It's a pattern that's tied to something much larger happening throughout Germany right now. While the police are busy dealing with street fights in hookah bars, the country has come face to face with an uncomfortable truth. Germany can't keep up with its massive bureaucratic structure anymore. We're talking about 1.7 million civil servants currently on the government payroll, which is quite a hefty number. But here's the kicker that has everyone buzzing. There are 1.4 million retired civil servants collecting pensions, and those pensioners cost the state the same as paying for 20 million regular pensioners. Just pause and take that in for a second. The obligations for these former government workers are so generous, leading to costs that simply aren't sustainable. Now, politicians in Germany are finally acknowledging this reality. Labor Minister Hubertus Heil is making it clear that everyone, yes, everyone should contribute to the pension system. Civil servants, self-employed folks, there are no more special exemptions allowed. And then there's Boris Rhein, who runs Hessen. He's taking it even further, being the first major politician to openly suggest that the government should just stop hiring civil servants for ministry positions altogether. Just like that, hire them as regular employees instead, without all the extra perks. So, let's dive into what's been happening lately in Germany. It's honestly hard to believe that the country is taking this route, especially with the economic choices being made. Ryan has really made a statement, focusing on keeping spending in check. This year, he decided to freeze salary increases for civil servants in Hessen for 4 months. and that move saved a whopping 180 million euros. It's a big number, and he seems pretty pleased about it. But here's the catch: this freeze doesn't affect everyone. Teachers, judges, and police officers are totally off the hook from this plan. Ryan's main target is actually the ministry bureaucrats, those folks who are just moving papers around in government offices. They could probably do the same jobs without any special protections if it came down to it. Whether this salary freeze really sticks is still up in the air, but the message is definitely ringing clear. Germany is tightening its financial belt, aiming for a more economical approach. It seems the days of generous government spending, at least for civil servants, are in the past. Now, while all this is going on, there's one area that's absolutely booming. We'll get to that shortly, as it highlights some important truths about Europe's priorities. But first, let's switch gears to the Green Party, who made their stance pretty clear recently. At their party conference in Hanover over the weekend, they took quite a bit of time to knock Donald Trump's proposal to end the war in Ukraine. They're certainly not on board with that plan. Instead, they're calling for Germany to supply long-range missiles to Ukraine, to take hold of frozen Russian assets, and to ramp up sanctions. It's interesting to think about this. Here's a party that's all about environmental protection, yet they're opposing a peace plan even though war is basically the most harmful thing for the environment. They're well aware of the damage that war brings, yet they're against this particular peace setup. Meanwhile, it seems the Left Party and the AfD are the ones actually pushing for peace. The political landscape is looking a bit wacky these days. When the Greens, known for their environmental focus, are advocating for increased weaponry, while more fringe parties are calling for an end to the fighting, it's clear something fundamental has shifted in the political spectrum. Oh, and let's not forget about Rheinmetall, the weapons manufacturer that's really made its mark in Germany over the past few years. Recently, Rheinmetall expressed some interest in picking up a Volkswagen factory in Osnabrück that's on the verge of shutting down. It seemed like a perfect fit. Defense contractor needing some production space while Volkswagen wanted to unload a struggling factory. However, it looks like Rheinmetall is now stepping back from that deal. Volkswagen's situation is quite tricky, and honestly, it's worse than most folks realize. The largest automaker in Europe is looking to slash their annual expenses by a whopping 15 billion euros. The driving force behind this is the rocky shift to electric vehicles. Simply put, Volkswagen is losing its competitive edge in the global electric vehicle market. Their EV sales are diving, which is really hurting their profit margins. As a consequence, factories are getting shut down, leading to thousands of job losses, and the whole German automotive industry is facing a serious reckoning. Armin Papiger, the CEO of Rheinmetall, explained why they are choosing to hold off on the Volkswagen factory for now. It turns out that they already have enough production capacity to handle their current orders, meaning they don't need extra facilities unless some big new contracts come their way. He did mention that some of Volkswagen's production spaces could be ideal for manufacturing weapons, but again, that would only come into play if the orders were there to support it. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Experts have been making connections, and it's pretty crucial to pay attention to this. Germany is making a shift from a consumer economy to one focused on defense. You can see this happening right in front of us. German automakers and their suppliers are trimming costs, laying off workers, closing down factories, and even filing for bankruptcy, all because consumer demand, particularly for electric vehicles, has taken a nosedive. On the flip side, defense companies are thriving. They're ramping up their operations, actively hiring, and even gobbling up skilled workers from the automotive sector. They're moving into spaces that used to belong to car manufacturers. This transition is undeniably palpable. Experts are now saying openly what they once kept quiet. Germany is restructuring its economic backbone to center around weapon production. People aren't completely losing their jobs. Instead, they're transitioning from building cars to producing missiles. Whether that's progress is up for interpretation. But let me tell you about what's unfolding in Bremen right now. It perfectly reflects the unease that's spreading across German society. That beautiful historic city is spending €3. So this year, 2 million euros is being spent on security for Christmas markets. That's right, they're shelling out that much just to keep visitors safe during the holiday season. In the city center, you'll see concrete blocks set up all around the festival area with heavy metal bollards at every possible entry point. There are special barriers that can be raised for trams and quickly closed off again. Not just the big entrances are blocked, but also the smaller passageways. Every single access for cars and trucks is completely shut down. It's all about being cautious, as the saying goes. Better safe than sorry. Starting from the 24th of November until the 23rd of December, Bremen police will be out in full force. This is our reality now. What once were peaceful, charming Christmas markets in Europe now require these military-grade security measures and millions of euros to keep everything secure. And things are getting pretty intense in other parts of Germany. In the university town of Gießen, there were massive protests over the weekend against a youth organization linked to the AfD. The police had to step in to break up road barricades using batons, pepper spray, and even water cannons. In the chaos, over 150 police officers were hurt in varying degrees during those violent clashes. This is what modern Germany looks like now, protests that involve water cannons and police injuries in the hundreds. Whatever sense of unity once held German society together seems to be breaking apart. Now, shifting gears to something truly strange happening over in the United States. The official White House website has introduced a new page called Media Violators. Trust me, I'm not joking. This page acts as a hall of shame for various media outlets. It lists news organizations in English alongside links to their articles, claiming they distort the truth about actions taken by the US government and President Donald Trump. They've even got sections labeled Wall of Shame, Leaderboard, and Repeat Offenders. The message is loud and clear. Don't try to fool us. The idea is that now you can pinpoint which global media outlets are spreading falsehoods or waging unacceptable campaigns against the American administration, particularly against Donald Trump himself. And honestly, I have to say, when it comes to news about Trump and his team, you really need to double-check everything. The sheer amount of misinformation out there is overwhelming. I've noticed it, and I bet you have too. Creating a space like this certainly adds a new twist to how we view media reports. When a government launches an official website to expose journalists and news organizations, it reaches a whole new level of concern. It begs a lot of important questions about press freedom and government intimidation tactics. Is it really about accuracy, or are they just trying to control the narrative? I don't have all the answers, but here's what I do know. When governments start keeping public lists of media adversaries, history tells us we ought to keep a close eye on what unfolds next. Now let's dive into the peace negotiations, which I've saved for last because they're crucial. Recently, Ukrainian representatives met with US officials in Miami to talk about Donald Trump's peace plan. At the same time, Trump's special envoy was making a trip to Russia for the same discussions. We're standing at a pivotal moment, and we're expecting to hear some real details about this within the week, maybe on Wednesday or Thursday. This is the story to watch closely, because if these negotiations work out and Trump manages to broker an agreement, it could reshape global geopolitics in an instant. But if they fail and this peace initiative crumbles, Europe could find itself locked into a defense economy. Germany would ramp up its shift from manufacturing cars to building weapons, and those green politicians will get just what they've been pushing for: increased military spending and ongoing conflict. Let's tie this all together. In Berlin, police are battling organized crime while the government is trimming down its expensive bureaucracy. The Green Party isn't on board with peace, and defense companies are circling around struggling automakers. Christmas markets need a significant boost in security funding as clashes erupt between protesters and police. Meanwhile, the White House is publicly calling out journalists, all while peace talks are happening quietly behind closed doors. These stories can't be viewed in isolation. They're all parts of a larger narrative. Europe is shifting, whether the people living there want it or not. The real question is whether this change will lead us to stability or something a lot more troubling. And that's what drives me to do this work. I show up every day to track these connections and provide the context that mainstream media often misses or chooses to overlook. If you find value in this kind of analysis, I would appreciate your support. Give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and if you have the means, think about sponsoring us. Independent journalism can only thrive with your help. It's really important for me to take this moment to chat with you because what we're building together is no small feat. Every day I'm sifting through tons of sources, making sure I cross-check claims and chasing down the original documents, all to ensure that what I'm sharing with you is accurate and reliable. In this day and age where fake news spreads like wildfire and everyone seems to have their own agenda, I spend hours, sometimes late into the night, making sure you get the real story. Not some twisted version of events or a narrative meant to sway you, but the actual truth as best as I can figure it out. It can be exhausting and honestly pretty costly, but I believe you deserve so much more than the junk most outlets throw your way. So, if what I'm doing matters to you, and if you appreciate having someone dedicated to getting it right, I've got a little favor to ask. Go ahead and hit that like button right now and make sure you subscribe to this channel so you won't miss anything I share. And if you're in a position to help further, please think about becoming a sponsor. Your support isn't just appreciated, it's what makes this all possible. It's what keeps independent journalism afloat. I really appreciate you being here, and I'll be back tomorrow with more stories because the news never really stops. Stay informed, stay skeptical, and I'll see you next time.